By the way, we're live, by the way, now. I wanted to let you know, since you're into Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me hold on. That I got for Father's Day, I got one of these Echo shows. So cool.
Yeah.
So cool for a desktop device when you work at a desk.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's right there. It can play Amazon Video. So, I like to keep something stupid, something I don't have to think about that I've seen a million times. It always ends up being Star Trek. So I just keep that running on low volume, not enough to distract me, but enough to keep me in my desk a little bit longer.
Really?
So because there's a little entertainment going on there slightly, and I don't have to look at it because I've seen them all about a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So
Next gen?
Yeah, next gen. And I go through all of them except for the first original season, which I don't know. I feel like I should watch, even though they're nearly unbearable to. It's hard to watch those, but the Echo show is really nice.
Cool,
because it has the video player on it, and it's pretty nice.
Okay,
I like it.
I might have to look into those.
Yeah, they're on. I think they're still on sale for $149.
That's not bad. That's less than I paid for my original Echo.
Right. So they're pretty good. They're nice little devices. They're bigger than you think, and they have a nice speaker in them, which is nice for the music.
Yeah.
So
that's primarily what I use my Echoes for, is music. I've got one hooked to a Bose for sound, and I could definitely see putting a show in my office. Yeah. Mostly just for something to generate sound. Usually I just pull up a YouTube live feed of 24/7 gaming music.
Yeah. That's what I use too, and stuff like that. And sometimes I'll play music, Sometimes I'll watch some show that I've seen a million times. IT Crowd is one that I've been watching again. But
what are the people like? Standard nerds. That's my favorite line. It's in the first episode.
All right. Anyway,
can you get other stuff on it? Can you just get YouTube videos on it?
You can. YouTube is in Netflix are possible, but you have to get to a hidden browser. You have to go in through I think the terms of service or something like that, and that'll pull up a browser that then you can put a new address into, which can be Netflix, and it works.
Okay.
From what I read, I've not done that, so
probably void your warranty.
I don't know, but
using anything like
I
that,
void my warranty within days of almost any device I get. It doesn't take me long.
Who's got electronics in it?
Yeah, I open everything up. I put new firmware on everything. Been working on my network too. Man, these edge routers are cool. They're so cool. So cool. I got 2 edge routers. Got an edge router X and an edge router 4. I'm going to have the sweetest network set up when this is all done. I'll have a constant tunnel from the little edge router X it's about the size, I don't know, couple decks of cards.
You're going to have to explain what an edge router is, because I am not.
It's just it's a router, but it gives you the ability to do some really complex routing. So I'm going to have a router that goes in my laptop bag that always tunnels to my home network. So if I plug my laptop in, it'll be on my network with an encrypted channel, and then I have my VPN service in my home router. So even when I'm remote, even if I'm I could be in anywhere. If I plug myself into that router, I'm on my home network, and all my communications are going through my open VPN to the network provider, my VPN provider, which is very safe, very secure.
So you can totally get torrents anywhere.
Oh yeah. Which I don't really do that anymore. I used to a lot. That's what actually got me started in this with the VPN and all of that stuff. Is I was torrenting, but I don't do that anymore.
Good for you.
All the software and media I could possibly want just through services.
What about Westworld 3? You paying for HBO?
Yeah. We have that on our Hulu.
Season 2.
Season 2, I think, is where we're at. That's a good show.
Yeah, I've only watched the first season, but yeah, I love that show.
Yep. Anyway, should we get started? I'm all tested, ready to go.
I'm all tested and ready to go.
All right, let's record. 1, 2, 3, start.
Oops.
You want me to just back it up?
Nope, that's fine.
Oh wait, no, I got to do that anyway. So I'm gonna stop. I had my cursor at the wrong place. There we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Hello and welcome. My name is Tim Shank. Where'd you go?
Right here.
Oh, okay. Should I start over again?
No, it's fine. And I'm Brian McAvoy. This is Two Cyborgs and a Microphone. Now, I've mentioned my current project on the live video a couple times, not the keyboard. This is the Long Range RFID project. I haven't put it on my blog yet, so you won't see anything there, but I'm planning to put it on there in a few weeks as the keyboard project is wrapping up.
Now you're building. You want to implant this, right, Brian?
Yeah. So the goal is going to be to produce RFID tags, which can be implanted. Now, we've already been implanting things like RFID tags, the little glass cylinders and stuff like that. But those have very limited reading range, which is great for security because nobody can read it without, making physical contact for the most part. But there is the obvious drawback of you have to be very close to your reader. So it's very much like signing into a computer where you have to put your hands near an input device. It's in our case, it's like moving your hand toward a keyboard and typing a password, except there's no typing. So nobody can shoulder surf. That's cool. But the long range has some significant advantages. You could approach your house and it could unlock the front door for you. You could approach your car and it would unlock for you whether or not you have keys in your pocket.
So that's very similar to what they're doing with the newer cars, where you do just have to have your keys in your pockets. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of what I'm working for. My 2015 car has that, and I love it because I've not locked myself out, which is the same thing I could have said about my old car, because I had the RFID reader in the car, but I had to build that aftermarket and do all the programming and stuff and scrap one of my old remotes and hook a button to it, basically, or a relay to one of the buttons in there. So the ability to walk out of my car and never worry about locking myself out was awesome. I could, just run downstairs and not worry, oh, do I have my car keys in my pocket? Didn't matter. If I didn't have my car keys, I was still golden. To be able to do that with my house, that would be great. Because, I'll go for a walk around my house and I always have to pat my pockets and make sure that they're there. Now, if I could go for these walks without having to even take my keys, yet tell the house, lock yourself up, I'm leaving, that'd be great. That'd be a great sense of security for me.
Well, no, that's similar to what I'm doing with my implanted, the little right size RFID and NFC. Is I have a Samsung lock and it automatically locks. I mean, there's a sensor on it that knows when the door is open and closed. If the door is closed, it automatically locks. So it's similar to that, but I have to wave my hand on it. I have to actually almost touch the sensor with my tags, which one of them is implanted the position just for that purpose. Actually, the position is just defined by how I interact with that reader.
Right. Excuse me. And so basically that's what I want to, except I want to be able to do it at a range. So to me, I want it to feel like my house recognizes me and unlocks for me. And it just goes, oh, Brian's coming home, open up. And to be able to program anything I want into it, such as turning on music, depending on the time of the day or something.
Now, one question that some people may ask on this is you can do similar things with, say, Wi-Fi connection to your phone. You can set up your phone to trigger your IoT stuff, your music, your lights, your locks, even when your phone is within range of your Wi-Fi network.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes some configuration. It's difficult to do. So what are the benefits of this over a system like that?
The same with every RFID key we've talked about on here. You can't lose it.
Yeah.
Oh, another big advantage of this over the standard RFID tags is you said that you've had an implant just so that you could interact with your front door lock. And now you could use it for other things. You could program something at your work computer to automatically bring up your favorite playlist or something like that. The long range does not need to be implanted somewhere that's more accessible. Like we always put RFID in our hands because it's easy for us, and in our world is designed in such a way that we put our hands near things. I suppose we could do one in the foot and have a reader like in a floor mat. That'd be kind of cool. I should write that down. But as you mentioned, like I had talked about putting the RFID reader in nice mug.
Oh, thank you.
I had talked about putting the RFID reader in this part of my hand or my arm. Like I talked about putting the RFID reader in my forearm because the skin there is not terribly sensitive, and it's.
You want to restate that with the RFI tag, not the reader?
Oh, right. My plan is to put the RFID tag in my forearm so that it is, easily accessible. And it's kind of the same mentality of putting it in the hand. And then you mentioned, why not put it in the chest? Like you're already going to be facing your reader, or because it's going to be near your point of action. And that made total sense. Like the skin over the solar plexus is fairly thin on most people. It's front facing, and it's Iron Man too.
Right, it's Iron Man. That's what I like. And you can get NFC tags with antennas that are all sorts of cool shapes that maybe would be able to be seen if it was implanted. I thought that was an interesting idea.
That'd be cool. So right now, that's what I'm planning for is a middle of the chest implant. I'm not going to do this myself. I'm going to pay somebody else to cut my chest and implant this. So yes, the big disadvantage, I'm using UHF RFID technology, which is much different. Well, it's not terribly different, but it's dissimilar from NFC and low frequency RFID.
Say, Brian, that buzz.
I know. I can hear it. It's getting really bad. Weird. I wonder if it's my watch. No, it doesn't seem to be.
Maybe check the plug on the back of your microphone.
You're probably going to hear a loud pop in a sec. Wow, that's really bad. Sorry, live audience. We're having technical difficulties as my microphone is giving us ridiculous feedback.
I don't know what that is. Something new this time.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And that wasn't all that loud, so.
Yeah, it's pretty loud in my ears.
Well, I don't hear it now, so maybe we can get started again.
Yeah, unplugging and replugging my microphone at the microphone did the trick. I had tried unplugging it from the adapter earlier. So, I think last time I just showed off the unit itself. Like I'd bought this big red board and said, "Oh, this is an RFID shield, hooray!" And that's not terribly exciting. So now I can show off to our live audience, our video audience, what I've got going on so far. So this is going to be the enclosure I'm going to keep it in. And let me see if I can get this close. There we go. So inside is a fan, which I have not turned on yet because that gets loud. I will in a second. There's a Arduino Uno. There's that RFID reader. You can see the red antenna at the bottom left of the screen. And there's 4 relays and a screen. So last night I finally got the screen working, so I'll be able to see the tags as they're read. I'm going to plug it in now, so you'll probably hear a fan. And yeah, I don't know if you can read the little screen on there. I just put in some sample text to get it up and running. So yes, for the most part, construction and getting the screen working. I have been able to read tags with it. There's a very good tutorial from SparkFun that tells you how to get this up and running, which is where I bought it. About $200, which we talked about. The price is kind of a bad.
Right.
It's not great considering NFC readers are less than $2 shipped to your door. So not great, but this is intended to be one is necessary for the house. That's it.
One. Do you think so I was imagining one per room.
I'm hoping that I can have multiple antennas multiplexed and be able to know which antenna I'm reading from. If that's the case, great. Then I can just have, one pointed toward the rooms I'm interested in,
Right.
because it hopefully will read through walls. The maximum range on this is 16 feet is the most that's been measured by SparkFun. That was perfect line of sight, perfect alignment between the antennas in a relatively isolated room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I won't get that. There's not going to be any water in the way, like, skin is full of water. So, not going to get that kind of range, but.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Hopefully you can get more than 10 feet is pretty small for even, a room. Yeah. Depending on, where you're at.
But if I'm in the middle of the room, I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to have to test all these ranges and see what's usable. I guess we'll find out. Better for one person to give it a shot than a lot of people to jump on this and find out it doesn't work. So
how are you going to test the range and how it behaves through skin and things like that?
Through organic analogs.
Oh, okay. So I just picked that up at the hardware store?
The butcher. I'm going to buy some chicken, and I'm going to stick a tag inside it, probably wrapped in a Ziploc bag, and say, hey, walk outside with a piece of chicken, point a piece of chicken at my house and go, how come my garage door is not opening?
If you use a chicken leg, you can use it like a ray gun too. So
my gosh, I got to wizard my house. Yes.
Chicken leg. That's awesome.
Oh man, I was planning to do a video demonstration of me holding up a piece of chicken leg, all stony face, and be like, "Hey, you see that garage door open?" Now I think I got to do the chicken leg wizard wand.
That would be awesome.
Maybe with a pointy hat. Open sesame.
All right.
People, if anybody sees me like, that dude's crazy, and then my garage door will open and be like, that dude's a magician.
So what about like security? Because one thing that when we've talked about this before, I mean, somebody could follow you into your house or something like that. How do you plan to address issues like that? Because if you're in your house, okay, so what if you walk, somebody comes to your door that has malicious intent and you walk up to it, well, it's going to unlock. Well, now they can just power right through, right?
If they were willing to knock me down once my door is unlocked, then it wouldn't matter if I had keys or not. And they would do the same thing.
Well, it's not necessarily knock you down, but that door is a secure barrier between you and them. And normally, you have the little eyepieces, or you can walk up to the door and look through the window somehow to see who's there before you actually open it. If you're using a manual lock. In this case, just approaching your door would allow them access if they were, proactive enough to try.
No, yeah, I suppose I'll have to put some kind of switch on the inside that says, I'm home. Don't unlock until I release this lock. Okay. And depending on the range. Now, the antennas I'll be using are also very directional. So it will be looking for me in the backyard where my usual entrance door is. So while I'm in the house, it will probably ignore me with that antenna.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I'll have to keep that in mind because, I don't want my lock to be toggling all day and night. Just going to wear the motor out.
Yeah. Yeah. And if your antennas are sufficiently directional and even maybe protected from directions that it doesn't matter, you can probably use tinfoil or something like that in the enclosure that would prevent the signal from going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the antenna I'll be using, I think that's a 6 dBi maybe it's 6.1. Also available from SparkFun. You have to buy a couple of adapter cables. So if people listen to this and then find out it's successful, make sure you get both adapter cables. I only bought that. I only bought one of them, and then I had to go back and get 2-day shipping on the other one.
Nice mug.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, you mean my cup?
So, what are your next steps here, Brian? It looks like you have it in what I was looking at looked like about 4 inches by 5 inches is what you could conceivably bring this down to as far as the receiver there. The enclosure. Now that doesn't include the antennas. So if you had antennas wired to various rooms, those are going to be much smaller, right?
Actually, the antenna is bigger than a textbook.
Wow.
They're sizable. And yeah, they're not unattractive, but they're clearly a device. So fortunately, they can be hidden away. Unlike RFID readers, they don't need to be visible because they're covering such a large area. So they could possibly be hidden in a closet. Another thing I'm going to do is possibly build a helical antenna because they're pretty simple to build. They're very directional and you can get crazy high gain off of them. I have no idea if this will work with RFID. I'm going to try it on, a real basic level, and if it works, great. I will build a better one. If it does not work, then I'll just scrap the idea. But I got the helical antenna idea from the Thought Emporium, his channel, because he's building a Wi-Fi telescope, basically, which is a helical antenna because they're very directional, and he'll scan the way a image scanner works, and it'll pick out levels of high Wi-Fi activity. Or I suppose it's just going to be 2.4 gigahertz, so Bluetooth Wi-Fi. So I'm going to try that centered on 910 megahertz, which is the UHF frequency. It's actually 860 to 960.
Okay. Do you have a name for your project, Brian? What's it going to be called if this is fully developed?
I have a terrible name. I'm not the best at namings. Right now, it's just UHF implant, all run together. The first 4 letters are capital.
No.
It's not catchy, but it's unique. So I'm open to ideas. And I'm an engineer, not a marketer. We're usually kept pretty separate for good reason.
Well, hopefully some of our listeners will leave some names for ideas in comments and
Please
YouTube
do.
and our excuse me. So hopefully some of our listeners will leave comments in our YouTube channel and or our iTunes channel, podcast channel. It's always good for us.
Very good. I'd appreciate that. Grinders in general would appreciate that because things like North Star, Southpaw, they have cool names. UHF implant is descriptive. That's all. It's functional.
True engineer. You're a true engineer. So is there anything else more we want to cover here before wrapping it up?
I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, I thought it was a good segue, actually.
I agree. Thank you for listening. We'd like to invite our listeners to email us at cyborgs@twocyborgs.com to reach both of us. You can then shoot either of us an email at tim@twocyborgs.com for Tim or brian@twocyborgs.com for me.
And we have a great website, twocyborgs.com. You can check out our cafe press store, get your own hooded sweatshirts and these stylish mugs with the beautiful Two Cyborgs and a mic with the beautiful Two Cyborgs and a microphone logo. This is Tim Shank, and I'm going to take a sip of my coffee out of one of these mugs right now.
This is Brian McAvoy. I'm holding one of those mugs as well. You've been listening to Two Cyborgs and a Microphone, brought to you by two cyborgs who have sexy mugs. Get it?
Like, follow, share, +1, and don't forget to subscribe on any of the popular podcast services, including Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher. Help us move up that podcast ladder by subscribing and commenting on iTunes.
Do the commenting. We're also on Twitter at 2cyborgs. That's the numeral 2 cyborgs.
There we have it.
There we have it.
Stop the broadcast now.